school board to order. We do have proof of notice. Next is roll call verification.
Peter Crump.
Sound.
Here.
Sherry.
Here.
Jamie. Here. Sandy.
Here.
Tricia.
Here.
Bob.
Here.
And Kyle.
Here. All right. The next portion is to review the student transportation RFP process and proposals. And for everybody's clarification, RFP stands for Request for Proposal. I would like to first take a few minutes to recap what the board has done up until now, and it's been a little over a 2-year process. After this point, then we'll have board discussion, and to let everybody know there is no public forum at special board meetings, so your support is you're here. That's your support. And again, to review, to us, the proposal was given from Garvin's on Wednesday, April 2nd. And again, we will be either after the board talks it over, the board will decide at that point if they want to review that proposal. The question in front of us is, should this proposal be considered? Especially after we have already followed our policy and procedures on purchasing and bidding. And there's 2 important paragraphs in what's policy 605. And I'd like to read them to get them straight to you. It says on purchasing and bidding, it says, in an effort to best use the fiscal resources of the district, the board appoints the superintendent of business operations to ensure that the purchasing and bidding are carried out according to state statutes, board policies, and administrative procedures. And we have done that. And the second part says the board makes purchases on the basis of the lowest price and the quality of the goods or service. Specific bids and or quotations may be required in accordance with the administrative procedures and exceptions rules for a capital item costing more than $10,000 in any service contract. The board reserves the right to accept or reject any bid in the best interest of the district. And here again, we have done this. We have had property grounds meetings. We've had posted board meetings, and to that eventually we came to the vote last month. And again, this process has been going on for over 2 years. And also with the RFP process in there, there's timeliness, there's expectations, there's criteria, and there's guidelines to the bus service expectations. And these have been shown to the board through the bids received from both Garvin's and Covisint. And we, the full board, discussed the considerations from each vendor, and from that we've made our final evaluation and roll call vote. To kind of recap again, the RFP process has been completed for busing services. We have objectively gone through each bid with our criteria. We have discussed considerations with each vendor individually, and here we had 2 special meetings with Garvin's. And again, on our bid, it says we have the right to go back and negotiate with vendors even after the bid has been received. And again, we've had meetings, actually a total of 20 meetings over the 2-year process, and we did vote. And at this point, we're at the point that we can sign the contract. Then again, the final question is, should this proposal be considered? And I'd also like to share from legal that legally we can reopen this bid. And the other thing is, a bid is not binding until it's signed, and it has not been signed. So at this point, I guess we can decide with the board for discussion. What are your thoughts? No, we don't be staying open. So any discussion that is here and open, we have no point. We'll be going forward.
I guess one thing I'd like to also add to that is that a question I've received a lot over the last week or so, why did we come to this point? What made us go to this process to start with? And I would just like to say that our contract with Garvin's was not looked at for 26 years. whose fault that is. It's probably the district's fault because it wasn't looked at. But for whatever reason, it wasn't addressed. And as stewards of the taxpayers, it's our responsibility to spend your money wisely. And so we felt that it was past time to look at that. And so that's one reason we looked at it. We also attended, I guess you would call it, I don't know if it was a workshop. It was through CISA 6. And there were various school districts there, and it was a workshop or consortium or whatever you want to call it on transportation in the 42 schools in the CISA 6 district. And it was through those, the meetings there that we realized that we were one of the higher schools in CISA 6 as far as our cost for transportation. So there were no problems with garden service. That's strictly why we went into the process, and I think it's important for everyone to know why we did that.
One thing I forgot to add at the start, petitions that were circled, there were 817 signatures, and again, we respect your input and your show of support. Any other discussion?
Pete, I think you did a real good job explaining it. I said a lot of time and thought has gone into this, and as long as we handle it in a fair and balanced going on in the procedure, I think we'll be doing all right. And be fair to everybody.
When you state that legal was consulted, that was the normal attorney that we use
Yes.
when issues arise, correct?
It is.
Okay. Dan Malin from the Wisconsin Association of School Boards, who was an attorney there, sent an email to me that stated, "There's reasons to proceed very cautiously with any proposal to rescind last week's vote and award the contract to another party. Two reasons that come immediately to mind as being potentially relevant are the possibility that allowing a revised bid or proposal to be considered at this time would be inconsistent with the vendor selection process." Okay? That's concerning to me. We're in a legal quandary at this point. I think the support is absolutely wonderful. I wish we would have had it 6 months or a year ago. Based on this advice, I'm not comfortable moving forward with reviewing that bid, even though it may be morally the right thing to do.
I did have input from our attorney, and he said, on those parameters, there's two things. There's business integrity, and that's what you're referring to. But he did say that he advised, but it was not an ultimatum, it was a suggestion. The point being, the concern is if, let's say, we get multiple bids for a certain job or a vendor, but we have somebody in mind that we want, so we use other people's bids to get that person to bid lower, even though we already planned on taking them. And that was where this falls into what Jamie is saying, the bid process. My feelings is there's more to this bid than just bidding on milk. As an example, that's why you're here. When we have a bid for milk, we pick and go.
That's not quite what I was referring to.
Go ahead.
Okay, what I was referring to is the RFP process being followed. I believe you had read the policy, and it sounds like it's being followed according to that. But I want reassurance from the administration that it would be being followed if we chose to reconsider the proposal at this time. And I want everyone to consider any potential liability based on that other vendor purchasing supplies because of the vote, no matter how small they may be. Are we then going to be liable for those supplies?
That's actually my question, is that by doing the press release and communicating that, are we legally appointing contractors?
My feeling, I was told, but until it's signed, it's not legal.
Can I just ask clarifications? Legal advice we did receive
I
is yes.
believe some members of the audience are unable to hear the discussion.
Yeah, definitely. I would like to ask if you guys could maybe step forward so we can see who you are and hear you. I don't hear you very well. Good. Really wish you guys would get in the line, maybe get up and state your names. I don't know who half you guys are. Thank you.
Thank you. Can everybody hear better? How about when we talk, we'll just pick up the mic. Okay.
Pete, to add some clarification to the questions around the legality of the action the board took at the previous board meeting. It is true that because there's not a contract, that there is no legally binding contract. However, it is going to be subject to interpretations of the law, according to our lawyer, district's lawyer, on if your action justified a contract, being that you accepted a proposal. So there is no legally binding contract. The burden of proof is on the vendor to prove that they have incurred any type of damages due to your action, but that's up to the vendor to come forward and prove that. At this point, that is a liability risk to the district. How big of a liability risk, we don't know at this time, and that is from our district legal.
Okay, any other discussion here?
I would just like to have clarification of how much money the district has already spent on what we have done to this point.
For legal fees. There has been a conference call with Mr. Crum, Executive Committee, and our legal counsel. A second conference call with myself, legal counsel, as directed by Mr. Crum, and the legal opinion that the board requested in regards to a previous contract that was put together for you. Approximately $1,000 in attorney fees at this time.
My question is, if we open up the forum so that we look at the other proposal, does that become public record so Cobuson can look at it, and then we would need to consider a counter proposal for them as well? So we're actually not really done.
You're referring to Gardner's proposal that was given to Mr. Crum, correct? As soon as Mr. Crum, as an agent of the district board president, physically took that proposal, it became a public record. So it is currently a public record.
According to our RFP, when are we obligated to make our decision? What's the date on that?
According to the RFP timeline, on or before May 27, 2014.
Because there's overwhelming support, I would like to make a motion that this board table this topic until legal is once again consulted to evaluate any liability on the district and then review the proposals accordingly and decide at a later date.
So you're looking just to table this and get legal's counsel on whether we should even look at the new one?
I'm asking what the liability for the district is from legal, completely in its entirety. And let the new board decide this topic based on information, whether or not they should consider all the proposals because you've got the time.
I'll second that.
Discussion that I'd like,
Motion is made second.
there's discussion.
No discussion.
Discussion I'd like to have regarding that is I know there is a timeline here with the new board coming on. The problem I have with the new board deciding this is that we have spent over 2 years on this. We have had closed session discussion. We have 7 board members here who have looked at all the information, all the information that was given to us. I'm not against per se having new board members look at it, but it will, I question whether that can be done by the May 27th or whatever timeline. We've spent 2 years looking at this. We all have background on it. We all have been participating in closed sessions that new members were not able to attend and be there for, which I think has direct impact on our decision making. And that's my discussion on that.
My concern about opening up the proposal is it's setting a dangerous precedent that the board has made a decision and now we're going back on it. And I commend everyone for being here, more than you know, because this was a really tough decision for me. But 19 different meetings, not one person said anything about their perspective. And it's a really slippery slope if you start challenging the elected officials after the fact. You won't get anywhere as a district. You'll keep redeciding and redeciding, and every year there's an election. I'm not re-elected, and I'm disappointed, but I understand it. But if we keep allowing, or we set this precedent, that the board decisions are changeable, you're never going to make any progress as a district. And if anybody's looked at the test scores lately, that's what matters.
Any other discussion?
What is the possibility of tabling this for legal advice and having another special meeting? One question. Second question is, what if we did reopen negotiations with both parties? Or do you think there'd be as much liability to the district if we did it that way?
I honestly don't believe that tabling it to get legal advice is going to help the board. I don't know how your legal advice is going to change. There's unforeseen risks to the board that you're going to take regardless of your decision. If you look at the government's proposal and potentially change your vote, which you can do, understand you're going to expose yourself to liability from a possible lawsuit. That's not to say you shouldn't do it, that's your decision to make, but to table the decision and come back, unless you're looking to table it with a new board, I don't understand. I don't think there's a reason to table it tonight. I'm sorry, the legal advice has been given to me. Jamie has some legal advice here too, and it's pretty consistent that there is going to be exposure no matter how you handle this, should you look at the new proposal. You can look at the new proposal, discuss it tonight, table that, but I don't know that I can get you any legal advice that's going to help you better understand tonight than I've given. If I have not been clear, I can try to clarify anything I said if there's further questions.
All right, no other discussion? There's been a motion made and seconded. All in favor? Okay, the motion is to table this until after legal advice.
To clarify that motion, it is to table this topic, reevaluate legal advice to ensure that we're not breaking the law if we reconsider this contract. That's it.
So clarification then is, we won't vote, we'll show by raising hands if you want to table this. If you want to table it, raise your hand and say that you want to do that. At that point, then, the majority want to table it. agenda, we had approval of the student transportation contract. I guess at this point, I would look for a motion to table that.
Vote to table the student, approval of the student transportation contract until the next meeting.
I'll second.
Okay. Okay, again, show of hands, those that want to table the.
This is an action item, no, you got it.
Oh, yes, excuse me, I didn't over here. Okay, all in favor of the motion, signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries with one abstention. Next motion